Hi everyone, welcome to Sacred Timings with Swati. I'm Swati Kameswar, and in this video I want to share my perspective on a very important transit that's coming up, which is Venus going retrograde in the sign of Leo. Now I think a lot of us may feel this transit to varying degrees, particularly if you have Venus retrograde in your natal chart or if you have significant Leo or even Taurus. And what we may feel may range from intensity, like emotional intensity, to feeling lost, and even to heightened creativity and productivity. So I want to share how we can use this incredibly powerful time to create a bridge to our higher expression. So let's get started. Here are some key dates to keep in mind and heart in the coming months. The highlighted ones are particularly significant, and you may want to be extra conscious and aware as we move through those dates. So Venus retrograde starts on July 22nd, and it will continue till September 3rd. And during this time, Venus will meet the Sun on the 13th of August. That period, a week before and a week after Venus conjuncts the Sun, is significant in that Venus is morphing into a new form. So that means that she's surrendering completely her old self and moving into a new expression. And that is one reason why we may feel a sense of feeling lost and not knowing what's ahead. So the start of Venus retrograde also coincides with Pluto in the last degree of Capricorn squaring the newly entered nodes in Aries and Libra, and not once but 3 times. So this is underlying the fact that permanent change is happening. Where in your life this is happening may depend on your natal chart, but I think it's safe to say that many of us are experiencing this sense of being at crossroads in our life in many different ways. And now Mercury will also go retrograde during this Venus-RX period. So this is underlying our experience of our expression changing in a big way, your perceptions and your expressions. And if you're feeling lost during this time, that means that the old interests, habits, routines, your likes and dislikes are falling away. What you deem important in your life is changing. Your values and your desires are changing, and you don't know what is ahead. Maybe you don't know what your purpose is or which direction to go. Know that firstly, that is very normal. And secondly, that you can create your path ahead consciously. And I will share in this video how to do that. So let's get down to understanding this transit. Venus represents the feminine principle, and her energy is very similar to Taurus energy. And one of the most significant aspects of Venus is how we relate to things, to everything, but it starts with ourself first. This relationship that we have to ourselves, how well we know ourselves, how well we support ourselves, particularly how we support ourselves to walk through the unknown. That relationship is the most important one. And how we relate to others gets derived from how we relate to ourselves. Now, Leo, now this directly correlates to our sense of self, self-worth, self-esteem. And these are some of the themes, these are some of the areas of focus that may be highlighted during the Venus retrograde time frame. And now Leo energy, it's a fire sign, it's illumination, and it represents unadulterated, undiluted, genuine self-love. The kind of self-love you feel when you know without a shadow of doubt that you are a divine creator in this human form. That this genuine, unshakable love allows for your authentic expression to radiate out. It allows your uniqueness to come through without apology, without fear or doubt. And healthy Leo has this quality of sovereignty. That means it doesn't depend on external factors to shine. It doesn't dim down its light based on what's happening outside, but it inspires others to shine and to be free to express their authenticity. Now, retrograde times may bring up unresolved karma. That's why everybody makes such a big deal about them. And I define karma as unresolved patterns which are not aligned with genuine self-love and sovereignty. All those higher aspects of Leo. And if you've heard of Inanna's story, it was a Venus 19-month cycle that inspired the story. And during this retrograde time is when Inanna is at the end of her journey. So this current cycle of Venus which emphasizes a sign of Capricorn, is coming to an end, and Venus is morphing into a new expression of Leo. So the intent here is to deepen self-love and to deepen our capacity to be divine creator and to allow our true self to shine a bit brighter. So the next 19 months are going to be this extended focus on the higher aspects of Leo. Now during the retrograde phase, the shadow can be heightened. Because remember, the retrograde phase brings up unresolved karmic patterns. So the distorted expressions of Venus, of Leo, and Taurus may come up. And this can include any number of things. It can be resistance to changing the expression, not finding it easy to give up misaligned old patterns. Surrendering to the new may bring up a lot of discomfort, fear, and doubt. Patterns around self-love may be very magnified during this time. So pay attention to the thoughts, feelings, actions, the choices that you make, and ask yourself if they honor your highest intent for your life. Pay attention to where you may find it difficult to receive joy, to receive pleasure, because of feelings of not deserving, of not being good enough. And look at where you might be denying yourself joy in life. So all of these may result in our light being dimmed down, our authentic nature being restricted. And also look at emotions like judgment, fear, anger, the voice of the inner critic. Where do these come up for you? All these shadow aspects prevent moving out of the old into a higher expression, or moving into a space of freedom, love, spaciousness, where you feel comfortable in your skin, where you feel the freedom and safety to experiment and play with what wants to come through you. And even if you've not done it before, and even if others around you are not doing the same thing, that means that authentic expression is being allowed to come through. And of course, if we don't feel comfortable with ourselves, then that will be reflected by our relationships, and it will tend to impact our relationships with others. So this time frame of Venus retrograde is a beautiful opportunity to move past the old, to purge the past, and it does require courage to move through the state, especially if you have any of the shadow aspects going on. Now, all these shadow aspects also block our clarity, so we may feel very lost during this time and the unknown path ahead. So to work with it, first look at where Leo falls in your chart and the area of your life that is likely the most impacted. Now, emotional clearing of misaligned emotions, patterns of inner critic, judgment, fear, anger, resentment, emotional clearing of all those may need to be done. Forgiveness of yourself and of others is key as well, because to be able to purge the past and move on to freedom, we have to let go of those old heavy emotions and have to let go of any place where we might be holding on to these negative emotions around others. Then asking yourself how you can amplify self-love. How can you explore new aspects of your expression, your skills, and what is wanting to come through? Also check where Taurus is in your chart, because Venus resonates with Taurus and we want to amplify the higher aspects of Venus. And this means embodiment of the higher qualities, like actually embodying self-love, taking this concept from the intellectual state to actually feeling it, living it, breathing it every moment and every day. Also enabling yourself to be self-sufficient, where you're able to psychologically take care of yourself. You're not dependent on the external world to be at peace. And that is key. And finally, to amplify beauty in your life. The vibration of beauty changes us. It allows us to sink into the pleasures of life more easily. And all these three higher aspects of Venus, we practice this extensively in my new workshop called YOUnique Boutique, something that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So let's talk about this bridge to higher expression and how to create it. So astrology and creativity have been a huge part of my journey to authentic and joyful self-expression. And here I want to share how I combine these two to create this bridge to higher expression and to embody my uniqueness with joy and play and beauty. It was July 2015, 8 years back, when I had my first introduction to astrology through the cycle of planet Venus. And at the time, it was similar to this, where Venus was beginning a new 19-month cycle around the sun in the sign of Leo. Now, I didn't know it then, but I was going through a Venus return cycle. And I would turn 40 at the end of that Leo cycle after 19 months. And this is a key initiation in every life. So out of curiosity, I started to work with Venus and the Divine Feminine back in July 2015. And I worked with every Venus cycle since then. And this awoke, it healed, and it strengthened my relationship to the Divine Feminine in huge ways. Now, by this time, I had learned that I was going through some pretty big planetary transits, pretty much all of them, Pluto, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, all the big ones. And that was inspiring a major awakening within me. And I also came to know that this phase is commonly known as midlife crisis. What I was learning then, which was significant, was that this midlife phase has huge implications on the rest of my life. And it was essential to navigate this phase consciously to align with a higher soul purpose beyond the traditional titles, roles, and careers. But having a mental idea of it is one thing, like knowing intellectually you're going through a tough transit is one thing, and working consciously with it to embody its gifts is a totally different thing altogether. And I was at that time beginning to recognize the nature of karma, that challenging times are often challenging because they bring up unresolved patterns not aligned with wholeness and love, and they're bringing these up for resolution. So you can see how closely tied to the Leo concept of self-love this whole period of time was for me. And I also learned that if I don't create my life consciously, I will continue to recreate those misaligned patterns. And this gave me pause, because I realized it was not just enough to clear the past. It was essential to be fully present in the now and to create the future consciously. So I decided I just decided I would do that. In fact, I went further and I declared to myself that I would clear my karma completely. And that was a pretty big intention I set for myself. And I actually felt deep down that it was possible. In fact, there was such a strong urgency to do just that. But how to do that so that it becomes a default state and I'm not just reacting to life when I get triggered? Was my goal unrealistic? And was I just being naive? And it was around that time that intentional creativity came into my life. I started to create paintings to honor my work with each Venus cycle. And here I'm sharing some of those paintings, those early ones that I created. And they usually have an image of the Divine Feminine. And these paintings intentionally called out and honored the gifts that I had received in each cycle. So there were 7 gifts for the 7 chakras. And through this phase, I found that through this phase that a powerful foundation of self-love was created. I found this to be a really powerful way to work with the Venus cycle and to awaken the essence of this feminine principle within me. So I started to work with all the planets in this way, using intentional creativity to work with the higher essence. And I started to experience a deeper realization of the gifts of the transits, meaning that I was embodying the essence more and more as I worked consciously with them. And I still had to do the hard inner work of facing the shadow, the fear, the unresolved karmic patterns, the big emotions that are an inevitable part of permanent transformation. But working with these transits, consciously calling out the gifts, receiving those gifts, it showed me a solid pathway to clear the karma and to move on to a higher expression. And I went on to pick up new skills of astrology, sound healing, coaching, and many others, so that I could hold space for others to go through big transformation in their life. And I eventually moved out of my career, of my engineering career at the time, and moved on to becoming a visionary coach, helping folks to transform burnout and to align with their authentic expression. In other words, I was bringing an old expression to completion and moving on to a higher expression filled with more life force, energy, creativity, and joy. And I was living my soul purpose in an intentional way, stepping into my innate creator energy to create a life of my dreams. And this is what this Venus retrograde cycle is about. It's about morphing that old expression into something new, into a higher expression where you're really aligned with your uniqueness, where you're aligned with that sense of divine creator within you, and allowing that unique energy of divine creator within you to shine through. Now, I want to share with you here some of the paintings that I've created with this process of intentional creativity. It's a 13-step process called the Color of Woman method. And engaging with this process gives access to the many muses within us. And these pictures show the muses of my natal chart. Here is my Mercury in Capricorn. Here is my Mars in Capricorn, as well as my Venus in Pisces. And here are my muses of my Sun in Aquarius on the left and my Ascendant in Aquarius on the right. And these paintings are created with that 13-step process, which take me on this beautiful journey within to make visible the invisible, the strengths and aspects of the muse that I'm wishing to awaken. And this process of embodying my uniqueness it's delicious, it's transformational, and it's full of joy. And the fact that a beautiful painting results in this process, although that is not the intention of the process itself, but it's just a bonus side effect that happens as a result of it. So I want to share with you my new workshop called YOUnique Boutique. This is where I walk you through this 13-step process to get access to and to paint your own muse of uniqueness, who is none other than Venus in Leo. And honestly, this workshop is my dream come true. I have personally focused my journey on the embodiment of my natal chart. And my own muse years ago told me that one way of really embodying my uniqueness was to embody the higher aspects of my natal chart. And this is why even when I went through the tough transits like Pluto, Chiron, Saturn and all, I kept calling forth their higher essence and using creativity as a way to receive the gift of the transit rather than to just experience the intensity. This can really help with it. Now, your natal chart holds all sorts of information about what makes you unique. It's full of clues to your unique purpose in this body, in this life. And when you align to this energy, then that internal guidance system kicks in and it guides you through all the chaos that times of change can bring up for us. So in this 2-day workshop, you will feel a real connection to the voice of your authentic nature, your uniqueness, your own muse. And some of the things that you will experience in this workshop, they all are related to the highest qualities of Venus in Leo: unshakable self-love, the ability to listen to your authentic voice, feeling safe and confident to let that authentic expression shine, embodying the higher aspects of your natal chart, all the strengths, all the stuff that is hidden that we can't actually articulate in words sometimes, even when you read your chart over and over again. This process allows you to embody that. And courage to step into a higher expression, because we all know that change requires courage. And all this while giving you access to beauty, joy, play, and whimsy. And if you feel currently lost, reconnecting to your original blueprint in this fun, embodied way can absolutely provide clarity on the path ahead. So here I want to share with you a feedback from a participant from a recent 13-step workshop that I held in Austin, Texas. And so if this calls to you, this workshop calls to you, you can get the details at activateyourtruthandpower.com/YB. And there is an early bird offer in case you're interested. If you would like to attend the workshop, but the dates don't work out for you, email me, as I'm quite flexible on the timings. And finally, I'm wishing you a beautiful month of July and retrograde season, and may you find your courage and joy as you move through this powerful time. Here I'm sharing with you some ways that we can keep in touch. I'm slowly moving away from Facebook in an attempt to simplify my life, so we can connect via my newsletter as well as Instagram. Many blessings to you. Bye.